I walk through the shadow of death left to fear. This is a journey through the halls of hell.
Yes people, what is good? I am BA and today's movie review is about Battle Royale. I still remember the first time I watched this. It was way back in college and it was instantly memorable the first time I watched it. I absolutely loved it and I've seen it dozens of times since then. I even own a limited edition DVD release of it where one of 5,000 was ever made. It was like an Arrow Video limited exclusive thing which has all sorts of studies from universities and things like that, photo art. It's a very limited release, so I'm a huge fan of this movie. And by the way, I'm not the only one who's a huge fan of this movie. Quentin Tarantino also absolutely loves this film, and he famously basically stole the character design of one of the schoolgirls in this, who ends up in a yellow Bruce Lee jumpsuit and has a sword, which is of course very similar to the design of the bride in the Kill Bill movies which came after this, and you can tell Tarantino was directly influenced for that style by this movie. There's also a case to be argued that this started the incredibly popular video game genre of battle royales. All those video games like Fortnite and PUBG etc. work in a similar system to the plot of this movie, literally. Not the entire plot, but many elements of how it actually operates once they're on the island. But in case you haven't seen it, let me start at the start. It's the near future and the youth of Japan have become so unruly that the government have declared the Battle Royale initiative, and what that means is one class every single year is selected at random and sent to compete in the Battle Royale games on an island. They are each fitted with explosive collars around their neck, and they are each given a random backpack which contains a random weapon. So you know, some people could get lucky and get a gun or a sword, and some people could be incredibly unlucky and get a flashlight or a shovel or something. And they are sent onto this island and told that if there is not one victor left, after 3 days, all their collars will explode. It's an absolutely ruthless premise, and interestingly, I read up that this was because Battle Royale is based on a book, and the Japanese man that wrote the book grew up during the wartime and saw some of his schoolmates slaughtered in factory bombings or something like that. And obviously that absolutely traumatized him, seeing his own classmates slaughtered in front of him, and he wanted to write a piece of fiction later on in life which encapsulated that and tried to put other people in the shoes of what he experienced, which is why he wrote this book. So yes, it's absolutely ruthless and it's school children killing other school children, but it literally comes from a guy's real life traumatic events and trying to share his real life trauma with you through a fiction. So while it's fucked up and horrible, way more fucked up and horrible things have of course happened in real life. At least this is just art. Also, Beat Takeshi plays the teacher of the class, who early on reveals himself to be sort of coordinating and co-controlling these Battle Royale games from a central hub. And if you don't know Beat Takeshi, let me fill you in. I believe he was so popular in Japan at one point, he had like 7 weekly TV shows, including Takeshi's Castle, which is one of the TV shows which was invented under his name. And due to personal life issues, at one point he had become so fed up, he decided to take a whole bottle of whatever alcohol it was and probably other things too, and he drove his motorcycle directly into a brick wall. So when he acts, he has a permanent twitch, but he was incredibly fortunate to survive that crash, and since then he's gone on to have such a long and legendary career, and Battle Royale is just another one of the dope films on his resume. Like, if you haven't seen it, check out Zatoichi. If you haven't seen it, check out Brother, about the Japanese Yakuza going to America and fighting with the American Mafia, just in case, because there's several films called Brother, but look for the one that is about Yakuza versus the Mafia. And the other thing I like about this is, like any good crisis film, it's not really about the crisis, it's about the individual human reactions to that. So you get the evil girl in the class manipulating all the boys to secretly kill them and take their weapons and upgrade. You get the nice students trying to work together. You get the geeks of the class desperately attempting to reverse engineer these explosive collars so they can take them off. And on top of that, there's 2 wild cards thrown into the mix because 2 students are quote unquote exchange students who have just joined the class, but in actuality they are 2 previous winners of a Battle Royale game, and one guy is a good guy and one guy is an absolutely absolutely unstoppable evil killing machines. So they are the two wild card elements on the island. And it's a perfect scenario when you think about it to bring out each individual personality. Because for example, if it was a war film, most people who are in the military are ready for that shit. They've been trained or they want to be there and they're a soldier and they've always wanted to be a soldier. But this is absolute warfare with no prior training amongst a class of friends or at least children that all know one another. So in that scenario, you're not just getting soldier-minded individuals, you're getting the pacifists who would rather just go and jump into the sea rather than kill another individual. You've got people with crushes on one another now having to fight to the death. And while it's a genre in and of itself, you know, people being paid to be hunted, things like Hard Target, The Hunger Games, which heavily borrows from Battle Royale in my opinion, but yeah, it came after this, very similar still, and there was even movies which predate that, and then in amongst that, in the modern era, you have things like The Hunt. So yes, this isn't original territory necessarily, but the way he made it a class of children makes it such an intimate battleground at every turn in comparison to your typical war movie. And of course, needless to say, this being a Japanese movie, there are fucked up twists and turns by the end of this thing as well, so you know, brace yourself for some absolute fucked upness. And the last thing I want to say about this film is there is a sequel. Unfortunately, the director passed away before he was able to fully finish his vision, and I believe his son ended up directing it. And while it's cool to see, you know, the family lineage continuing the project, it was just nowhere near as good as the first Battle Royale, which stands as itself as one of the greatest Japanese movies of all time in my opinion. It has absolutely everything in it. So yeah, if you've never seen Battle Royale before, you're actually in for a treat. Go stick that shit on and let me know what you thought about it. And until next time, if you've liked this reaction, click like, subscribe, comment down below, come over to the Patreon, sign up and help support me personally. I've been BA. Peace.